Welcome back to the channel. Today, we're starting the inspiring true story of Jame, a 22-year-old young man from a small town who carried one big dream: to speak English fluently and with confidence. Part 1. Where the journey began. Jame lived in a quiet town where very few people spoke English. He had finished studying at a local school where English was treated as a subject, not as a language people actually used in daily life. Whenever he watched English films, listened to English songs, or saw fluent speakers on YouTube, he felt something spark inside him. He wanted to do that too. But he was scared. Scared of making mistakes. Scared that people would laugh at him. And more than anything, he had no idea how to begin. Then one day, while watching YouTube videos, Jame heard about ChatGPT. The videos showed how students from different parts of the world were using ChatGPT to practice English speaking, writing, and even to learn grammar and vocabulary. Jame became curious. Can this really help me? He wondered. The next morning, with a clear mind and a little hope, he made an account and opened ChatGPT. His hands shook slightly as he typed, "Hi, can you help me learn English?" ChatGPT answered right away. "Of course. I'd be happy to help you. What would you like to start with?" James smiled. It felt as if a real teacher was sitting beside him, ready to guide him without judging him. The first step: daily conversation practice. Jame began with simple things. Every morning, he greeted ChatGPT and asked easy questions. "How are you? What's the weather like? Tell me a short story." He made grammar mistakes, and sometimes even spelling mistakes, but ChatGPT stayed patient. It corrected him kindly, offered suggestions, and explained things in easy language. Little by little, James started feeling more confident. He made a promise to himself. "I will speak to ChatGPT in English for at least 30 minutes every day. No matter what." Learning from mistakes without fear. The best part? Jame didn't feel ashamed. When he spoke to real people, he was afraid they might judge him. But ChatGPT never laughed, never got annoyed, and never complained. He could ask the same question 5 times, and ChatGPT would still answer warmly every single time. That gave him the freedom to learn through mistakes. Creating a learning schedule. Before long, Jame made a weekly study plan. Monday, learn 10 new words and use them in sentences. Tuesday, write a short story and ask ChatGPT to correct it. Wednesday, study grammar, tenses, prepositions, articles. Thursday, have a conversation about a random topic. Friday, listen to an English audio clip and summarize it with ChatGPT. Saturday, practice speaking by typing faster and imagining real conversation. Sunday, review everything and ask about any doubts. This routine turned into a daily habit. And guess what? In only 3 weeks, he could feel the difference. He was starting to think more in English. He was writing more clearly. He even began speaking in short sentences with his friends. Facing the first challenge. One day, his cousin from the city came to visit. During dinner, they began talking about movies. His cousin said, "Let's speak in English, Jame. I heard you've been learning it." Jame felt nervous, but he remembered all the practice he had done with ChatGPT. He took a deep breath and began. "Yes, I like English movies. Last week I watched a film called The Pursuit of Happiness. It was really good." His cousin looked surprised. Jame didn't speak quickly, but his words were clear, and his grammar was almost perfect. After that night, Jame felt something new: confidence. That short conversation gave him even more motivation to continue. He realized, "I really can do this." And that was only the beginning. Part 2. Jame moves forward, from typing to speaking. After that proud dinner conversation with his cousin, Jame felt something powerful inside. Progress. For the first time in his life, he truly believed, yes, I am learning English. But Jame did not stop there. He knew that typing and reading English was one thing, but speaking it fluently was a whole new mountain to climb. The voice in his mind. One day, Jame asked ChatGPT a question that changed everything. How can I improve my English speaking if I have no one to talk to? ChatGPT replied, you can practice thinking in English. You can also speak to yourself. Imagine real-life situations and say the words out loud. You can also repeat short dialogues or audio clips. That one answer became Jame's next mission. Every morning, after brushing his teeth, he looked in the mirror and said, "Good morning, Jame. How are you today?" "Today, I'm going to the market to buy some fruit. I feel nervous about speaking English, but I'm not going to stop." At first, he laughed at himself. But little by little, it became a powerful daily ritual. He spoke to himself in English while cooking, walking, and even while waiting for the bus. He used his phone to record short videos of himself speaking. Then he asked ChatGPT, "Can you check my grammar and fluency?" And ChatGPT responded with detailed feedback. "Your grammar is good, but try speaking a little more slowly. You said, he go to school. It should be, he goes to school. Nice vocabulary choice. Try using more connectors like however, so, because." James started treating ChatGPT like a coach, not just a chatbot. Bringing English into everyday life. Then James decided to take another big step. He wanted to use English in real-life situations. He made a list of simple activities. 1. Call customer service and speak in English. 2. Order food online and write notes in English. 3. Change his phone language to English. 4. Join free online English meetups on Zoom. He joined a small Telegram group for English learners. People from different countries talked there every weekend. Jame joined the call, his heart beating fast. When it was his turn to speak, his voice shook. "Hello, everyone. My name is Jame. I'm from a small town. I'm learning English with ChatGPT." People clapped and smiled. Some even asked him questions such as, "How do you use ChatGPT for learning? Can you share your daily routine?" That was the first time Jame had spoken to strangers in English. His hands were cold, but his heart felt warm. He knew this was growth. The power of listening. Jame realized something important. If he wanted to speak better, he first needed to listen better. So he added listening practice to his daily routine. He listened to simple English podcasts. He watched easy English story videos on YouTube. He used ChatGPT to summarize what he heard. Example: he listened to a short story and asked, "ChatGPT, I heard a story about a farmer and his horse. Can you help me write the summary in easy English?" ChatGPT replied with a beautiful short paragraph. Jame read it aloud, corrected his pronunciation, and retold the story in his own words. This gave him speaking and listening practice at the same time. Creating his own lessons. Jame became creative. He began asking ChatGPT, "Give me 10 simple sentences using the past tense." Create a dialogue between two friends at the airport. Give me a mini test on English articles, a, an, the. He was no longer waiting for a teacher. He had become his own teacher. He created a notebook called My English with ChatGPT and wrote new words, example sentences, common mistakes, notes from conversations. That notebook became his daily treasure. A message from his past self. One evening, Jame read an old journal entry from 3 months earlier. I don't think I'll ever be able to speak English. It feels too hard. He smiled. I was wrong, he whispered. Now he could hold conversations, write stories, ask questions, and even correct his own mistakes. All because of daily effort and ChatGPT. And guess what? He had just started recording short English videos for Instagram to inspire others. Part 3. Jame steps onto the stage. A real-life English test. Jame was doing well. He was speaking to himself, joining online groups, and even helping others with English tips. But deep down, he knew he still had not faced the real test. That test arrived as an invitation. One morning, Jame received a message from the organizer of his Telegram English group. Hi, Jame. We are planning an online English storytelling competition next week. Would you like to participate? His hands shook as he read it. A storytelling competition? In English? In front of real people? His first thought was, no way. I'll make mistakes. I'll forget my words. I'll embarrass myself. But then he remembered something ChatGPT had once told him. Growth starts outside your comfort zone. If it feels scary, that may be a sign you should do it. He closed his eyes, took a deep breath, and typed, Yes, I will participate. Preparing the story. Jame had never told a story in English to an audience, so he turned once again to his trusted friend, ChatGPT. He typed, I need help writing a short story for an English competition. Something simple, emotional, and inspiring. ChatGPT answered with 3 story ideas. 1. A village boy who dreams of flying. 2. A dog that saves a family during a flood. 3. A student who overcomes his fear of public speaking. Jame chose the third one because it reflected his own story. He worked with ChatGPT every day. He wrote a draft, received suggestions, changed the sentences, practiced pronunciation, and timed himself. He asked, Can you make these sentences sound more natural? Can you check for grammar mistakes? Can you help me simplify this paragraph? ChatGPT was like a kind teacher, always patient and always supportive. The night before the competition. The night before the event, Jame couldn't sleep. His heart was racing. He stood in front of the mirror, saying his story again and again. He whispered, Don't worry about mistakes. Just speak slowly and clearly. You've come this far. You can do it. He even asked ChatGPT one final question. Do you have any tips for speaking in front of an audience? ChatGPT replied, Make eye contact with the camera. Smile. It shows confidence. Pause after important sentences. Start strong and finish even stronger. Those lines gave Jame courage. The big moment. The next evening, the competition began. 10 participants joined the Zoom call. People from India, Bangladesh, Morocco, Brazil, and more. When Jame's name was called, his palms were sweating. But he remembered to breathe. He looked into the camera and began. Hello, everyone. My name is Jame. Today, I want to tell you a story about a boy who was afraid to speak English until he met ChatGPT. As he spoke, something incredible happened. His voice became steady. His words flowed naturally. He was not trying to be perfect. He was simply trying to be honest and clear. He shared how he used ChatGPT every day, how he practiced speaking on his own, and how he gradually became more confident. At one point, he said, "Fear is not your enemy. Silence is. Keep speaking, even when you feel afraid." When he finished, the group stayed silent for 2 seconds. Then came the applause. Virtual claps, heart emojis, and messages like, "Amazing story, Jame. You inspired me to try." So real and touching. Jame did not win first prize that day, but he gained something even greater. Belief. A new door opens. Later, the host sent him a private message. "Jame, would you be interested in leading a small session next month? Maybe a Q&A about learning English with AI?" Jame stared at the screen. He had started out as a shy learner. Now people were inviting him to share his journey. He replied, "Yes, I'd be honored." Reflecting back. That night, James sat in his small room and opened his old notebook. On the very first page, he had written, "Goal: speak English confidently." He smiled and added a new line, "Update: goal in progress." And it feels amazing. He turned to ChatGPT once more, not to ask for help this time, but to say, "Thank you for being with me through every step." And ChatGPT replied, "You did the hard work, Jame. I only helped you believe in yourself." Part 4. A New Beginning in a Foreign Land. After the storytelling competition, Jame felt like a different person. He could speak. He could express himself. He could even inspire other people. But deep inside, he carried another dream: to travel to an English-speaking country and live in an environment where English was spoken naturally every day. One day, while browsing a study abroad website, he read, "Language Exchange Volunteer Program in Ireland. Improve your English through cultural immersion." Ireland? A country of green hills, kind people, and a rich English-speaking culture? He felt nervous, but excited. Jame applied. A few weeks later, an email arrived. "Congratulations, Jame. You've been accepted." His heart leaped. The journey to Ireland. James' first flight ever was to Dublin, the capital of Ireland. He looked out the airplane window and thought, "Will I understand their English? What if I get lost? What if I can't speak well enough?" But he also reminded himself, "You've practiced every day. You've faced your fear. You'll be okay." At the airport, a cheerful Irishman named Tom welcomed him. "Welcome to Ireland, lad. You're the new volunteer, right?" James smiled nervously and replied, "Yes, I'm Jame. Thank you so much." It was his first real English conversation in a foreign country. Living with locals. As part of the program, James stayed with an Irish host family in a small town in the countryside. Every morning, he helped at a community library by organizing books, welcoming visitors, and talking with children. In the afternoons, he joined cultural activities, cooking, hiking, storytelling circles, all in English. At first, it was difficult. The Irish accent was fast. Some expressions were unfamiliar. People used idioms like, "What's the crack?" It means, "What's up?" "He's grand." It means he's fine. Jame politely asked questions. Sorry, could you say that again more slowly? What does that word mean? And people were always kind. One elderly woman said, You speak very well, Jame. Don't be shy. Just keep talking, even if you make mistakes. That's how all of us learn. A special friendship. One day, Jame met Emily, a university student who volunteered at the same library. She noticed his careful English and said, You're improving quickly. Want to practice with me over tea? From that day on, they met every evening. They talked about everything: Indian and Irish cultures, childhood memories, future dreams. Sometimes Jame made grammar mistakes or forgot certain words. But Emily would smile and say, Don't worry, I understand you perfectly. That gave him more confidence than any textbook ever could. Facing the unexpected. One evening, the library staff asked Jame, Would you like to give a short talk about your culture next week? Now it wasn't only about speaking English. It was also about representing his country. Jame prepared day and night, with ChatGPT helping him once again. He wrote a speech about Indian traditions, food, festivals, and even how he learned English. On the day of the talk, the library was full of people: locals, children, volunteers. He stood before them, smiled, and began. Hello, my name is Jame. I come from a small village, and today I'd like to share a little piece of my home with you. He spoke for 15 minutes, confidently, clearly, and from the heart. When he finished, people applauded warmly. Some even hugged him. An old man said, Your English is beautiful. Not only the language, but the way you tell your story. Jame was speechless. The lesson of immersion. During his 2 months in Ireland, Jame learned something that changed him. Language is not just grammar or vocabulary. It is about connection, with people, with ideas, and with culture. He made friends, learned local phrases, and even picked up jokes in English. By the end of his stay, people often asked him, Are you sure you're not from here? And he would laugh and reply, No, I just listened a lot and kept speaking. Heading back home. When Jame returned to his village, he was different. He was no longer afraid to speak English. He had lived it, breathed it, and shared it. People in his town noticed. A school teacher asked, Would you speak to our students about learning English? And Jame said, With pleasure. Now he was no longer just a learner. He was becoming a guide. Part 5. From Student to Success. Jame's Dream Job. Jame stood at the edge of the stage in his village's small school hall. Hundreds of eyes were fixed on him: students, teachers, parents. He was not nervous. He had changed. He had grown. He began his speech. I used to be afraid of speaking English. Today, I'm here to tell you that if I could do it, so can you. The applause after his speech was loud, but something even louder was growing inside him. A calling. A purpose. Starting a local English club. After coming back from Ireland, Jame felt he had a mission. He went to his village library and asked, Can we reserve one corner of this library for spoken English practice? The librarian smiled. For you, Jame, yes. I've seen your journey. Let's call it the English Corner. Jame brought his old notes, printed conversation starters, hung up a world map, and placed a sign. Speak English, not perfect English. Soon, children and teenagers started coming every evening. They read stories aloud. They asked one another simple questions. They laughed when they made mistakes, and then kept talking. Jame did not teach with strict rules. He taught through stories, role plays, and games. He told them, "Your mouth is like a muscle. Speak every day, and it will grow stronger." An unexpected invitation. One morning, Jame received a phone call. It was from a well-known English learning institute in the city. "Hello, is this Jame? We've heard about your community work. Would you be interested in joining us as a communication skills coach?" Jame was stunned. He had no formal degree in English, no certificate, only passion, real experience, and fluency earned through hard work. He traveled to the city for the interview. Other candidates wore suits and held certificates. Jame wore a simple shirt and carried his confidence with him. During the interview, they asked, "What is the best way to learn English?" He replied, "By using it, every day, with joy, not fear, the way I did, with a free tool, a library, and a dream." They did not ask anything more. They simply smiled and said, "Welcome to the team." Jame's best job ever. His job was wonderful. Every day, he helped young professionals prepare for interviews. He trained call center workers to speak with international clients. He worked with nurses, teachers, and shopkeepers. And whenever someone said, "I'm scared to speak," he would answer, "You know, I used to feel the same way." His story gave people hope. His lessons gave them direction, and his attitude gave them confidence. A visit to a special place. A year later, Jame returned to his old school in the village. He met his childhood teacher, Mr. Sharma, who said, "Jame, I remember when you struggled to say even one sentence. Look at you now. What's your secret?" Jame smiled. "My secret? I stopped chasing perfection. I started speaking, reading, and listening. I made English part of my daily life, and I never gave up." He was invited to speak at schools, colleges, and even small companies, not because he was famous, but because he was real. ChatGPT, the silent teacher. Jame never forgot what helped him most in the beginning: ChatGPT. When others were too shy to talk to people, he spoke freely with the chatbot. When he didn't know a word, he asked. When he couldn't build a sentence, he typed it and learned. When he needed motivation, he got it. He always told his students, "You don't have to go to foreign countries to speak English. You need to enter your own world where you are brave enough to try." A small ceremony, a big recognition. One evening, the institute where he worked held a ceremony. They announced a special award. Best Communication Coach of the Year goes to Jame. The audience clapped. Some stood up. Some had tears in their eyes. He walked slowly to the stage, held the trophy, and said, "This is not only my award. This is for every village boy who ever felt left behind, for every girl who believed English was only for the rich, and for every learner who speaks even when they are afraid." What Jame believes now. English is not a subject. It is a skill. You do not need a lot of money. You need a lot of effort. Speak with mistakes. Listen with focus. Read with curiosity. Make English part of your life, not a task, but a tool. The journey never ends. Even after reaching his dream job, Jame kept growing. He still learned new words every week. He still talked with ChatGPT at night to sharpen his thinking. He still helped his village school on weekends. And whenever someone asked, "How did you become so good at English?" he would smile and say, "I didn't just study English. I lived it." Final words. A message for you. If Jame could do it, you can do it too. He started in a small village with big fear and limited resources. But with steady effort, smart strategies, and the right mindset, he learned English and changed his life. Now it's your turn. Believe in yourself. Practice every day. Speak even when you make mistakes, because the more you try, the more you grow. We wish you all the best on your English journey. And if you found this story helpful, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share, so others can learn, improve, and feel inspired too.